You are running out of time
to become who you actually want to be. And the worst part is, you don't even know what that person looks like yet.
Not because you're lazy, not because you haven't tried, but because nobody ever told you that adulthood has a hidden deadline. And it isn't 30, and it isn't 50.
It's the quiet window right before 40.
When the person you've been performing
starts to calcify into the person you'll be forever. Most people cross that line without noticing.
They keep the job that's slowly draining them. They keep the relationships that were never real. They keep the beliefs they picked up at 90 and never once questioned. And then, one morning, somewhere in their 40s, they wake up and realize the life they're living was built by a version of them that no longer exists. That's not identity, that's inertia.
By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which inventory to take before 40.
The 8 areas of your life you need to audit while there's still time to change them without burning everything down.
Not a checklist,
not a productivity system.
An honest look
at where you actually are versus where you keep telling people you are.
Because those two places have been drifting apart for years, and you've been the last one to notice.
We're going to go through this slowly, one area at a time. Some of these are going to feel obvious, some are going to sting. And one of them, near the end, is the one almost nobody wants to look at. Start with your body. Not how it looks,
how it feels, the way you wake up,
the way you climb stairs, the way you sleep or don't.
Your body has been keeping a receipt
of every choice you've made for the last 2 decades,
and around 30, it starts reading that receipt back to you out loud.
The energy that used to be free is now something you have to earn.
The recovery that used to be automatic is now something you have to schedule.
Here's the trap. Most people wait for a scare, a scan, a diagnosis, a number on a chart before they take their body seriously. By then, you're not building. You're repairing. And repair is always more expensive than maintenance. Take the inventory now. How many nights a week do you actually sleep well? How often do you move without a screen in your hand?
What are you eating on autopilot because your parents ate it?
What's your resting pulse when nobody's watching? Write it down, not to shame yourself, to see the baseline.
Because you can't rebuild what you refuse to measure.
Now look at your money, not the number. The relationship.
Because your bank account isn't really about income.
It's about the beliefs about money you inherited before you could spell the word. Some of you were taught that wanting more is greedy. Some of you were taught that saving is fear. Some of you were taught nothing at all, which is its own kind of wound. Here's the psychology behind it.
Your financial habits at 39 are almost always a rerun
of what your parents' anxiety looked like at the dinner table when you were 8. That's not personality, that's programming.
Take the inventory.
What do you actually own versus what do you owe? What are you spending on that you can't justify out loud?
What would happen to your life if your income disappeared for 6 months? Not to panic you,
to wake you up. Because before 40 is when compounding still works in your favor after 40's out. It starts working slower and the mistakes get louder. This isn't about becoming rich.
It's about becoming honest.
Small is fine. Late is fine. Ignored is not. Now let's talk about your relationships, not the number of them, the weight of them. Look at the 5 people you spent the most hours with, not the ones you love in theory, the ones who actually take up your week. Are they pulling you forward or quietly asking you to stay the same? Here's the hard part. Some of the people closest to you are invested in the version of you they met, not the version you're becoming. And they're not doing it consciously. They're just uncomfortable with change because your change forces them to look at their own. Take the inventory. Who leaves you lighter? Who leaves you smaller? Who have you outgrown
but kept around out of guilt?
Who have you been performing for years without realizing you've never actually been yourself in the room? And the harder question, who have you been to them?
Have you shown up? Have you been honest? Have you let them see
the parts of you that aren't polished? Or have you been quietly hiding?
Calling it privacy.
Before 40 is when relationships stop being about who's fun and start being about who's real. Choose accordingly. Now look at your work.
And I don't mean your job.
I mean the thing you spend most of your waking life doing, whether or not it has your name on the door. There's a specific kind of grief people carry in their late 30s, and it's the grief of realizing the career they built was chosen by someone
who didn't know themselves yet.
That's not failure. That's just what happens when 22-year-olds make 40-year decisions.
Here's the reframe.
You're not stuck with the identity you built.
You're just used to it.
And used to it feels like destiny. But it's That's actually just repetition.
Take the inventory. If nobody paid you for what you do, would you still do it? If you had to explain your work to your 10-year-old self,
Would that kid be excited? What are you good at?
that you've stopped taking seriously because it feels too easy.
What have you been calling a hobby? That's actually your center of gravity. You don't have to quit everything. You just have to stop pretending.
You don't know what you actually want because that pretending is the tax you've been paying for years, and it compounds too.
Now for your mind, not what you think. How you think. What runs through your head the moment you wake up? What you tell yourself when you fail? What you tell yourself when you win?
Most people over 35
Are running the same 6 thoughts on a loop.
and calling it their personality.
Here's the psychology. Your inner voice was mostly installed between ages 4 and 12. You didn't write it. You inherited it. Every "you're too much."
Every "don't be selfish," every "who do you think you are?"
Those aren't your thoughts. They're echoes of rooms
you don't live in anymore.
Take the inventory. What's the loudest sentence in your head? Whose voice does it actually sound like? What would you stop doing tomorrow?
If that sentence went quiet,
What would you start? Sit with that. Don't rush past it.
because the mind you take into your 40s
Is the mind you take everywhere.
for the next 30 years.
And now the last one. The one nobody wants to look at. Your relationship with time.
Because underneath the body, the money, the work, the people,
The mind. There is one honest question you've been avoiding for years. If you keep living exactly the way you're living right now, will you be proud of the person you become? Not impressed. Proud.
most people can't answer that without flinching.
That flinch is the whole point of this video.
You have time.
You just have less than you think.
And the point of taking inventory before 40
Isn't to panic. It's to stop drifting. To stop letting the momentum of an old life carry you into a new decade.
you didn't consciously design to close the gap between who you're being and who you actually are underneath all of it.
Do the audit. Body, money, relationships, work, mind, time. Not all at once. One a week. Write the honest answer, not the acceptable one. If this hits something in you, subscribe, like, and comment. The next video goes deeper. The internal rules you're still obeying from childhood.
That are quietly running your adult life.
And how to finally rewrite them. You don't want to miss it. You are not your age. You are not your history. You are not the version of yourself the world got used to. You are what you're willing to be honest about, starting today.
Take the inventory, then take the next step.